Hey everyone, and welcome. You're tuned in to Six Path Weeb, your go-to realm for alternate anime realities and creative fanfic journeys. Today's dive into the multiverse brings a bold twist. What if Naruko was a master jewel thief? Yes, you heard that right, stealth, style, and shinobi smarts with a criminal edge. Quick disclaimer. This content is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage used, all rights belong to their original creators and copyright holders. Let's get into it. The heist begins now. In another life, under the city's neon-lit sky, Uzumaki Naruko wasn't a ninja. She was a whisper in the dark, a shadow across rooftops, a name spoken in hushed tones between security guards and desperate millionaires, the Crimson Fox. Born in the alleyways of Konoha metropolis, Naruko didn't know her parents, only that she was left behind in a church with a red velvet blanket and a tiny jade pendant shaped like a spiral. The pendant was the only clue to her past, and the first thing she ever stole back when some street rat tried to take it from her. By 17, she was infamous. Not for violence, no, the Crimson Fox never killed, never harmed, but for the way she slipped past laser grids and biometric locks like mist. Her calling card was always the same, a paper origami fox left behind in the display case where a priceless jewel used to be. Rumor had it she could steal a diamond from a moving bullet train or lift a sapphire from under the Hokage's pillow without him noticing. But she wasn't in it for the money. Not really. Each jewel she stole had a pattern. Every piece was tied to a web of corruption, stolen artifacts, blood diamonds, heirlooms taken in war. She saw herself not as a criminal, but as a red-gloved avenger of the night. The treasures she lifted? Often anonymously returned to rightful owners, sold to fund orphanages, or melted down and repurposed into street-level resistance tech. Naruko was Konoha's outlaw heroine, the spark of rebellion in a city that worshipped order. Everything changed the night she tried to steal the Dragon Tear. The Dragon Tear was no ordinary gem. Housed in the Uchiha Foundation's private vault, a skyscraper lined with chakra-sensitive tech, it was said to be cursed, the last remnant of a war between shinobi clans. Naruko had heard the rumors. She didn't care. She'd crack tougher vaults. Or so she thought. That's when she met him, Uchiha Sasuke, the Foundation's youngest enforcer, a man trained not in brute strength, but in pursuit, detection, and deception. He'd been tracking the Crimson Fox for over a year, building a dossier filled with blurry security footage and shattered alarm systems, but he'd never anticipated her. When they clashed, it wasn't a fight. It was a dance. Naruko in her crimson suit and fox mask, flipping through laser beams and dodging tranquilizer darts, Sasuke with his Sharingan goggles, reading her movements like a book. He caught her, almost. Enough to tear her mask away and see her face before she vanished in a puff of smoke and laughter. "You're not what I expected," he'd said into the night. "And you're not fast enough," she replied. From that moment on, it wasn't just about the jewels. It became a game. A connection. Naruko found herself leaving him clues, taunting riddles, half-truths tucked into crime scenes. And Sasuke, in turn, became her mirror. Each time they crossed paths, the line between hunter and hunted blurred. But secrets have weight. Naruko's pendant, the spiral jade, wasn't just a relic. It was a key. And when she uncovered the truth, it shattered everything. The Uchiha Foundation had once partnered with shadow elements of the Konoha elite, orchestrating the disappearance of entire bloodlines. Her family had been one of them. The Dragon Tear wasn't just a gem, it was tied to a jutsu locked in time, a seal that held the truth of what happened during the silent massacre. Naruko could have run. She could have disappeared. Instead, she stole the impossible, not a jewel, but the Foundation's master server, slipping in through the ceiling during a masquerade gala and out the window as fireworks burst over the skyline. This time, she didn't leave a fox. She left the truth, leaked across every screen in Konoha. And Sasuke? He found her days later, on the rooftop where it all began. "You broke the world," he said. "I broke their version of it," she said. "Now help me build something better." The sirens were already closing in. But the two of them stood together, side by side, twin silhouettes against the rising sun, one with crimson gloves, the other with crimson eyes. In a world of shadows, the Crimson Fox had finally found her light. Sasuke hesitated. Not because he didn't know what he wanted, but because everything he had wanted was unraveling at his feet. The life of control, duty, precision, it had given him purpose after the Uchiha Foundation took him in. Gave him an identity, a mission. But now he was looking at a girl who had just upended that entire world with nothing but wit, agility, and a heart burning too bright for the lies she'd been born into. I should arrest you, he said, though his voice lacked any force. Naruko tilted her head, a half-smirk creeping up her face. You could try. They stood like that for a breath, two sides of a coin balanced on its edge. Then Sasuke did something he hadn't done since he was a child. He laughed. A short, surprised sound, like it had been hiding in his chest for years. You really don't know when to quit. Naruko's smirk softened, turned sad. I've never had the luxury. They vanished before the Anbu arrived, leaping into the smog-choked night, leaving only wind and memory behind. The broadcast Naruko had triggered spiraled through the city like wildfire. Whistleblower files. Footage from black sites. Bank records linking the Uchiha Foundation, the Hyuga Syndicate, even the city's own council to decades of cover-ups and exploitation. Konoha Metropolis didn't explode in riot overnight, but the cracks began to show. Newsfeeds showed masked protesters storming Uchiha offices. Street artists painted foxes on armored vehicles. Children in orphanages cheered when Naruko's voice interrupted every channel with the words. This isn't just about justice. It's about taking everything they said we weren't allowed to have: truth, choice, freedom. The city now whispered of the Crimson Fox in reverent tones. But she wasn't hiding anymore. She and Sasuke became ghosts in the system. Not just jewel thieves now, data thieves, saboteurs, liberators. They took down tech monopolies in Rain Sector, exposed stolen jutsu patents in Suna Corp, leaked confidential blackmail records from the corrupt daimyo's office. They gathered allies, too. Haruno Sakura, once the city's top neural engineer, who defected after learning her tech was used for surveillance implants in political prisoners. Nara Shikamaru, a disillusioned strategist, who coordinated rebel cells from the shadows, using rooftop cigarette embers as coded signals. Even Hyuga Hinata, the heiress who faked her own kidnapping just to join the underground movement. Together, they weren't just a crew. They were a revolution. But revolution comes at a price. The Foundation struck back. Hard. Entire blocks were locked down. Friends disappeared. The city's AI began scanning faces with unrelenting precision. And in the middle of it all, Sasuke got caught. He let himself be. They told Naruko in code. One of Shikamaru's Fox-marked drones dropped a note into her safe house. The shadow chose the flame. 1 week. North Tower. No tricks. It was a trap. She knew it. But it didn't matter. In the pitch-black underbelly of the North Tower, Naruko walked into the lion's den wearing a stolen Foundation uniform and carrying only her jade pendant and a small device Sakura called the Screamer, a disruption pulse that could knock out an entire grid's security systems for exactly 43 seconds. Inside the cell, Sasuke sat bruised, silent, but very much alive. You're late, he said, smirking through bloodied lips. You got caught on purpose, jerk. I wanted to see if you'd come. Naruko rolled her eyes. Like you had to ask. The escape was chaos: alarms, pulse rounds, collapsing stairwells, stolen uniforms, dead ends. At the final corridor, they were boxed in, surrounded. Naruko looked at him. No way out. Sasuke took her hand. There's always a way. She kissed him. Not because it was romantic, but because it was the truth. Something unstellable, unrepentant, utterly hers. Then she activated the Screamer. Light exploded. In the aftermath, the North Tower burned. No bodies were recovered. The Foundation claimed victory. But across Konoha, Fox sigils reappeared, this time etched into security drones, projected onto news towers, even formed in the stars by hacked satellite lasers. The Crimson Fox lived. And if you listen closely in the quiet parts of the city, beneath the buzz of drones, past the humming neon, you'll still hear her laughter, wild and free, followed always by the whisper of wind and a flicker of red across the rooftops. The thief who stole the truth. And gave the world a reason to fight back. It had been 3 months since the fall of the North Tower. The Foundation was fractured, licking its wounds in the shadows. But like any hydra, for every head cut off, 2 grew back. Its remnants had gone underground, operating from deep beneath Konoha Metropolis in what the media whispered about as the Deep Root. Naruko knew the war wasn't over. It had only gotten smarter. The city above began to feel like a puppet show, elections orchestrated, news scrubbed, protests deflated before they began. Something big was happening beneath the surface. That's when the Bloodlight gem resurfaced. A blood-red crystal the size of a heart, long believed to be lost in the Great Suna Vault fire years ago. Except it hadn't burned. It had been stolen, by the Foundation, and hidden away in a vault known as the Mausoleum, a facility so secret, it didn't exist on any map. Word was, the gem was more than priceless, it was tied to Project Yomi, a rumored mind control protocol that used refracted chakra to manipulate memory at scale. If the Foundation finished Yomi, they wouldn't need force anymore. They'd have obedience. The Resistance didn't ask if the Crimson Fox could steal it. They knew better by now. They just asked when. The job. The mausoleum was buried beneath the ruins of old Konoha, inside an abandoned subway sector overtaken by root systems, collapsed tunnels, and scanner drones. Sakura pulled up the schematic through black market satellite leaks. The vault was suspended underwater, in a glass capsule surrounded by pressure-sensitive mines and thermal locks. No one had ever broken in. Which is why Naruko didn't plan to. She planned to replace it. Sasuke said it best as they watched the schematics glow across their safehouse wall. "You're not trying to steal the gem. You're trying to switch it." Naruko grinned. "Exactly. Let them think they still have it. While we rigged the fake with a surprise." They built a replica from crystallized salt and refracted LED cores, indistinguishable from the real one under scanner optics. Sakura added a dormant virus in its core, one that would activate once the gem was brought back online during testing, corrupting the Yomi protocol and leaking the Foundation's entire neural framework into the public web. Naruko called it the Foxfire hack. The heist began on the night of the artificial eclipse, when the city dimmed its solar domes for maintenance. The world above blinked out, and the underworld stirred. Naruko dove in through the flooded maintenance shaft. Hinata guided her with sonar visuals. "Left turn in 3 meters. Pressure increasing. You've got 60 seconds before the mines rearm." Sasuke was already inside, having infiltrated the security rotation 2 days prior under a deepfake identity. At the final checkpoint, he slipped her past the retinal scanner using his old Enforcer ID, spoofed and dying. In the chamber, the bloodlight gem pulsed like a heartbeat. It was warm. Alive. As Naruko moved to make the switch, something changed. Her hand froze just above the pedestal. Her reflection in the glass looked wrong. Off by half a second. The gem knew she was there. It reacted. Her pendant, her jade spiral, began to glow faintly, drawn to the gem. Sasuke's voice came sharp, "Naruko. We've been set up." Behind them, the vault door slammed shut. Gas hissed. In the observation deck, a man stepped forward. Uchiha Madara. Alive. Smiling. "You've stolen for so long, little fox," he said, voice dripping with amusement. "Now let's see what it feels like to be stolen." The bloodlight gem was never the target. She was. Project Yomi didn't need the gem. It needed a carrier, someone with deep chakra resonance and chaotic mental energy. Someone immune to conditioning. Someone the people believed in. Naruko wasn't just the heist's master. She was the payload. The twist. The gem shattered mid-switch. Not physically, but psychically. It latched onto Naruko's chakra core, initiating a cascade. Memory distortions flooded in, her past rewritten, her resistance erased, her identity scrambled. But they hadn't counted on Sasuke. He activated the failsafe Sakura buried in the fake gem, a pulse of mirrored chakra data encoded with Naruko's real memories. He slammed it against her chest. "You're not theirs," he whispered. And for a moment, everything paused. In the psychic plane, Naruko stood before a mirror of herself, no mask, no gem, no city. Just a girl who had stolen the truth and now had to steal herself back. The escape. She woke up gasping, memories intact, eyes burning red. The bloodlight had tried to overwrite her. Instead, she rewrote it. Using the virus, she inverted Yomi's network, pushing a data storm back into the Foundation's own system. Madara's expression twisted in disbelief as their entire neural net began bleeding data, secrets, files, identities, locations, into the city's open web. The Crimson Fox had just stolen their soul. They barely made it out, Naruko and Sasuke surfacing from a storm drain as sirens echoed across the city, the skyline glowing with holograms of revealed corruption. The bloodlight was gone, destroyed in the final surge. But its legacy? A broken system, finally laid bare. And the girl who once stole jewels? Now she was stealing history itself. In a back alley cafe 2 weeks later, a child tugged on his mother's coat and pointed at the wall where a fresh graffiti tag burned red. A fox curled around a shattered gem, eyes glowing. They say she's still out there, the child whispered. His mother smiled. They say right. The city had gone quiet. The kind of silence that only happens after something irreversible. The Bloodlight heist, if you could even call it a heist, had broken open the crust of Konoha metropolis. Protesters walked freely now. Hidden prisons had been evacuated. And in the rubble of the old regime, a whisper of something new was forming. But Naruko was restless. The kind of restless that didn't go away with victory. She sat on the edge of a half-finished rooftop garden, legs dangling into open space, her gloved fingers tracing the spiral jade pendant that never left her neck. Sasuke joined her, quietly. He handed her a tangerine, peeled, like always. "You're thinking about the past again," he said. She didn't deny it. The memory. It always came back to that one night. Long before the city, the masks, the vaults. Before she was anyone. Naruko was 8. An orphan in Konoha's outer ring, living in the attic of a crumbling chapel that didn't ask names. She was small, fast, loud when she wasn't supposed to be. But that night, she was quiet. She had found something. In the alley behind the chapel, where the cracked bricks bled rainwater into broken glass, there was a shimmer. A necklace. Silver chain. A small amethyst pendant. It lay inside a storm drain, just out of reach. She could have walked away. But something about it. The way it caught the moonlight, how alone it looked, buried in rust and grime, it reminded her of herself. She spent 20 minutes using 2 twigs and a bent nail to fish it out. And when she finally held it in her hand, wet, cold, absurdly beautiful, something inside her clicked. She didn't want it because it was expensive. She didn't even know if it was. She wanted it because it wasn't meant for someone like her. But she took it anyway. Later, she found out it belonged to one of the wealthier families that passed through the chapel for image blessings. She could have returned it. She didn't. Instead, she polished it. Cleaned it. Hid it under her pillow. Wore it once a week when no one was looking, just to remember what it felt like to own something beautiful in a world that told her she never would. It wasn't about greed. It was about defiance. About reclaiming something the world said she wasn't worthy of. Back on the rooftop, Naruko turned the jade spiral in her fingers. "That was the first thing I ever stole," she said. "It didn't even belong to a vault or a rich asshole. Just some woman who lost it stepping out of her hovercar." Sasuke raised a brow. "You kept it?" She shook her head. "Returned it. Years later. Dropped it in her donation box anonymously with a note, 'Thanks for the inspiration.'" He smiled faintly, the way he only did with her. "You could have been anything, Naruko. A hacker, an artist, even a damn demolition expert. Why a thief?" She looked at him, fire in her eyes. "Because thieves don't ask permission. And I got tired of waiting for the world to let me exist." That night, a new message blinked through the Resistance's hidden network. A new target. But this time, it wasn't a jewel. It was something deeper, a DNA vault owned by what remained of the Hyuga Syndicate, storing stolen bloodline limits harvested from kidnapped children. Sakura called it Operation Ghostline. Naruko leaned back against the sky, eyes glinting. Another treasure. Another truth buried in chains. Another chance to remind the world. The Crimson Fox doesn't just steal what's glittering. She steals what matters. And she never gives it back. The Crimson Fox, the secret of Project Echo. It had been a few weeks since Naruko and her friends pulled off the most daring heist Konoha metropolis had ever seen. The day they swapped the mysterious Bloodlight gem for a harmless copy and tricked the city's biggest organization into exposing their own secrets. The people were free to ask questions again. The sky domes were cleared, letting real sunlight filter through for the first time in years. Street performers danced in the plazas. Kids drew chalk foxes on the walls. But Naruko wasn't resting. Not yet. In a dusty archive hidden beneath the city's oldest library, she'd found a name. A clue. Shinoname, Project Echo. She didn't know what it meant, but she felt it in her bones. This was tied to her past. To her first real friend, Hisa, who had disappeared when they were both little. Everyone said Hisa had moved away. But Naruko had always suspected something else. And now she was ready to find the truth. A childhood spark. Naruko had always been curious. Even as a kid in the outer ring, she'd ask endless questions, take apart old tech from the recycling bins, and sneak into places she definitely wasn't supposed to be, just to see what was inside. One day, when she was 7, she and Hisa found a small, Old jewelry shop hidden between two buildings. The owner, a kind, soft-spoken woman named Granny Kainu, had a small table of shiny glass gems near the door. For decoration only. The sign read. But Naruko had an idea. That afternoon, they set up their own jewel shop out of bottle caps, marbles, and glittery buttons they found on the sidewalk. They made signs, gave each gem a name, and even made up stories for each one. This one makes you invisible. This one lets you talk to animals. This one helps you fly if you believe hard enough. People passed by and smiled. A few even played along. And that was when Naruko knew. She didn't care about jewels for money or showing off. She cared about the stories behind them. The spark of magic. The possibility. The idea that anything could be more than it seemed. Even a fox like her. The mission. Now older, and definitely more experienced, Naruko gathered her team in their treehouse-style hideout, cleverly disguised as a gardening supply store. Sakura, her tech-savvy friend, projected a glowing map. The word Shinonome shows up in only one place, she said, pointing to an island just beyond the edge of Konoha Bay. It's an old lighthouse. Abandoned for years. Sasuke, quiet as always, nodded. Too perfect to be a coincidence. Kiba, carrying a backpack full of snacks, asked the most important question, is it haunted? Only by mystery, Naruko grinned. Which is my favorite kind. And just like that, they set out. The Lighthouse Lab. The team arrived by boat, well, more of a floating scooter Sakura had rigged with solar panels and a mini-fridge. The lighthouse was crooked, overgrown with vines, and missing half its railing. But it still stood tall against the sea breeze. Inside, they found strange symbols carved into the stone, boxes filled with dusty files, and machines that hadn't blinked in years. But in the very center of the top floor, they found it. A tiny, glowing crystal inside a glass case. It shimmered gently, and next to it sat a dusty book titled Project Echo. Naruko opened it carefully. And inside, she found records, of people. People like her. Children who had once been marked different for their energy, imagination, and connection to ancient chakra patterns. But instead of being cast aside, some had been studied here. Helped. Encouraged. Echoes of light, not shadows. And at the very back of the book, she saw the name. Hisa. Transferred to Shinonome. Showed strong affinity for dreamlight sequences. Location, Mirror Garden. Naruko gasped. She's alive, she whispered. She's out there. The fox's promise. Back at the hideout, Naruko stared at the sea, the breeze lifting her golden hair. She had once stolen to survive. Then she stole to reveal truth. Now? She was going to steal someone back. Not a gem. Not a secret. A friend. She turned to her team, heart full of light. This isn't just another heist, she said. This is a rescue. Sakura smiled. Count me in. Kiba raised his snack pouch. Let's bring her home. Sasuke didn't say anything, but he handed Naruko her old origami fox, folded anew. The crimson fox had once stolen jewels. Then she stole truth. Now, she was about to steal someone's chance at joy. And nothing, not locked doors, not codes, not forgotten lighthouses, was going to stop her. Because some treasures aren't sparkly. Some treasures are people. And Naruko Uzumaki never, ever, leaves them behind. The Crimson Fox, friends of the fox. Naruko never called them a gang. They weren't rebels or troublemakers, no matter what the city reports used to say. They were a team of curious, brave, bright-hearted kids who believed the world could be better. A little smarter. A little kinder. A little more fair. Each of them had a different reason for joining Naruko. But once they did, they became more than partners. They became family. And like any good story, it all started with their pasts. Sakura Haruno, the mind of the mission. Role, tech whiz, puzzle solver, builder of brilliant gadgets. Personality, calm, focused, clever, and quietly hilarious. Sakura always saw the world differently. While most kids were coloring inside the lines, she was taking apart old remotes to see what was inside. She loved mysteries and codes. In fact, when she was just 7, she accidentally broke into a city museum's digital display because she thought the password puzzle was a game. At first, teachers thought she was just too quiet. But Naruko saw more. She met Sakura after a school field trip when they both got left behind by accident, or so they thought. While waiting to be picked up, they solved the mystery of a missing sculpture together, just for fun. From then on, Sakura became the team's brain. If there was a riddle to crack, a security system to decode, or a weird blinking device no one else understood, she handled it with a quiet smile. Secret wish: to design a floating library in the sky where anyone could come and learn, no questions asked. Kiba Inuzuka, the scout with the big heart. Role: watchman, animal communicator, field tracker. Personality: energetic, loyal, a little loud, always snacking. Kiba grew up in a lively household full of animals, where the floors were always muddy and someone was always barking. He loved his family, but sometimes he felt like no one truly heard him, except Akamaru, the scruffy puppy he rescued as a baby. Akamaru didn't need words to understand Kiba. When Kiba met Naruko, it was because she'd followed a trail of cookie crumbs through the market. And found Kiba hiding under a table, feeding them to a squirrel with a bandaged paw. She didn't laugh or chase him off. She helped him build a little squirrel-sized shelter from leaves and string. That's when Kiba joined the crew. He's the best at spotting hidden exits, noticing when someone's about to come around the corner, or figuring out how to get through a narrow air vent with just a piece of string and a peanut. Secret wish: to start a rescue home for lost animals, and kids, where everyone feels like they belong. Sasuke Uchiha, the shadow with a sharp eye. Role: planner, lookout, silent escape artist. Personality: quiet, observant, loyal beneath his grumpy exterior. Sasuke was the kind of person people didn't always notice. He moved like a whisper, talked only when necessary, and usually stood just outside the group. Until something important was happening. Then, suddenly, he was everywhere. Opening doors, cutting rope, solving problems without needing to brag about it. His family came from a long line of shinobi-style protectors, and there was a lot of pressure to be perfect. But Sasuke didn't want to be perfect. He wanted to be free. So he found freedom in becoming someone who did good in secret. He met Naruko during a rooftop race, that neither of them admitted was a race. She was trying to catch a floating balloon that had a map stuck to it. He caught it first, but handed it to her without a word. From then on, they had a quiet friendship, the kind where they understood each other with a look. Sasuke is the one who spots flaws in a plan before anyone else, who memorizes floor plans after seeing them once, and who always knows how to disappear without being seen. Secret wish: to travel the world and make maps that show not just places, but stories. Shikamaru Nara, the strategist. Role: planner, timing master, calm in any storm. Personality: laid back, super smart, allergic to effort, until it matters. Shikamaru wasn't part of the original team. In fact, he avoided groups in general. Too much trouble, he'd say. But Naruko needed someone who could figure out complicated plans without needing to draw 30 diagrams. When they met, it was because Naruko tried to sneak past him in the school hallway while hiding a roll of blueprints under her jacket. He saw her. He yawned. Then he said, "Turn left in 3 steps, the hall monitor's going to trip over their own shoelace. You'll be fine." She followed his instructions. It worked. And he went back to reading his book like nothing happened. Eventually, he agreed to help, not because he cared about fame or treasure, but because Naruko's missions made sense. He liked helping people. He just didn't like making it obvious. Secret wish: to build a quiet garden on the edge of the city where kids can come and just breathe. Hinata Hyuga, the keeper of secrets. Role: quiet gatherer of information, smooth talker in disguise. Personality: gentle, observant, incredibly kind but surprisingly brave. Hinata wasn't always brave. At least, that's what she used to think. But bravery isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to do what's right, even when you're scared. She came from a very important family, but she often felt like she wasn't enough. Until she started helping Naruko behind the scenes, slipping keys into the right places, distracting adults with polite questions, remembering every single detail others missed. Naruko once said, "You're not behind the curtain. You're the curtain. The one keeping the truth hidden until the right moment." Now, Hinata acts as the team's eyes and ears in places they can't reach. At events, galas, museums, she listens, remembers, and sometimes surprises everyone by doing something very bold and brave. Secret wish: to write a book of secret kindnesses, acts of good done in the shadows, for no thanks at all. Together, they are The team behind the Crimson Fox. Not just thieves, but seekers. Not just clever kids, but builders of better stories. They sneak into places no one else dares to go, not to steal riches, but to take back truth, hope, and forgotten treasures, and return them to the people who need them most. Each heist has a mission. Each mission, a message. And through it all, Naruko knows one thing more than ever. She might have started alone. But now? She's never alone again. The team gathered under the moonlit skylight of their rooftop hideout. Sakura's map glowed in soft lavender as the old book from the lighthouse sat open in front of them. At the very bottom of the last page, in small, looping handwriting, were 3 words. Mirror Garden, Echo. Naruko traced the name with her finger. This is where she went, she whispered. Where Hisa disappeared. Sasuke, leaning against the railing with arms crossed, gave a thoughtful nod. And where we go next? But what is the Mirror Garden? Kiba asked, licking peanut butter off his thumb. Sounds like something from a bedtime story. I think it kind of is, Hinata said quietly. I've heard about it before. Just whispers. A secret place where lost ideas go. Where dreams grow like plants. Then it's the perfect place for a fox, Naruko said with a grin. The journey to the garden. To get there, they had to follow a trail hidden in plain sight. Sakura decoded the symbols carved into the book's margins, coordinates masked as old fairy tale titles. Shikamaru timed the journey, marking when they had to hop the ferry boat, when to follow the shadow of the clock tower, and even how many steps to take between benches in the Echo District. Eventually, the trail led them to a quiet greenhouse buried beneath the ruins of an old train station. Vines curled up the glass walls. Mysterious light shimmered from within. And just beyond the overgrown doors, they found it. The Mirror Garden. The Garden of Echoes. It was like nothing they'd ever seen. The inside stretched far beyond what the outer walls could have possibly held. Floating lanterns bobbed in the air. Flowers shimmered in every color imaginable, some even changed depending on who looked at them. Tiny mirrors bloomed like petals on the trees, reflecting not what was, but what could be. Kiba gasped as one mirror showed him training a tiger cub. Sakura's shimmered with a workshop in the clouds. Sasuke's flickered to a starry sea. Naruko stepped up to one. And in it, she saw herself, younger, holding hands with a smiling girl with white eyes. Hisa. Suddenly, the mirror shimmered. A soft hum filled the air. A trail of sparkling petals lifted and swirled in the air like a guiding breeze. This way, Hinata whispered. The Dreamkeeper. At the center of the garden stood a small treehouse, twisted of vines and crystal, floating just a few feet above the ground. Inside sat a kind-looking woman wearing a long coat covered in glowing pins and patches. Her hair sparkled like starlight, and her eyes twinkled with curiosity. You made it, she said. Right on time. Who are you? Naruko asked. I'm the Dreamkeeper. I protect the garden and guide those who still believe in it. Is my friend here? Naruko asked. Hisa? The Dreamkeeper smiled gently. She was here. A long time ago. She was one of the first children to ever awaken a dream seed in the garden. She was gentle. Curious. So full of wonder. Where is she now? Naruko asked, stepping closer. The Dreamkeeper reached behind her and pulled out a small orb that looked like a teardrop made of glass. Inside was a moving memory, Hisa, dancing through the garden, laughing. She left her echo here, the Dreamkeeper said. A piece of herself. She wanted to make sure the garden stayed open for others. Naruko took the orb gently. She knew someone would come looking for her. Someone who remembered. Naruko felt something warm in her chest. It wasn't sadness. It was hope. A new mission. That night, the team camped inside the garden. They shared stories and dreams around a glowing flower that kept them cozy and calm. Naruko watched the stars through the glass ceiling, clutching the memory orb close. She believed in me, she said softly. She knew I'd find this place. She left you a path, Sakura said. Not just me, Naruko said, turning to the others. She left it for all of us. For anyone who's ever felt lost or forgotten. This garden is full of old ideas and dreams. But they don't have to stay forgotten. What do we do with them? Kiba asked, already dozing off with Akamaru on his chest. We give them back, Naruko said. To the world. She stood up, firelight flickering in her eyes. We used to steal to survive. Then we stole to show the truth. Now? She smiled, full of light and love and mischief. Now we're going to give back what the world lost. Dash. The garden grows. Before they left, each team member planted a dream seed in the soil. Sakura left a blueprint. Kiba, a whistle that called animals from anywhere. Sasuke, a compass that always pointed toward home. Hinata, a folded note that simply said, "You are not alone." Shikamaru left a tiny hammock woven of starlight thread. And Naruko? She left a paper fox. It shimmered as it took root, glowing gold and white, its tail curling around the soil like a promise. Dash. And so the Crimson Fox continued her journey, not just to uncover mysteries, but to bring dreams back to life. She and her team would travel across the city, into the towers and tunnels, the skies and shores, searching for hidden places, forgotten treasures, lost memories, stolen joy. They weren't just the cleverest team in the world. They were the keepers of what mattered most. And the world had never seen anything quite like them. After leaving the Mirror Garden, Naruko and her team felt different, like the world had opened a secret door just for them. The mission wasn't just about finding Hisa anymore. It was about discovering all the little wonders and lost hopes tucked away in corners no one thought to look. They called it the treasure of forgotten things. Dash. A new lead. Back in Konoha Metropolis, Sakura was the first to notice something unusual. While scanning city archives for old projects related to Project Echo, she stumbled upon a dusty box labeled Echo Children, Artifacts. Inside were strange objects, a music box that played melodies no one remembered, a glowing feather that felt warm to the touch, and a diary full of drawings made by children whose names had faded from history. What if these are pieces of other kids like Hisa? Sakura wondered aloud. Naruko's eyes sparkled. We have to find them all. Dash. The team grows. As their quest gained momentum, new friends began reaching out to them, kids who had once felt invisible or forgotten, but who now wanted to help bring lost dreams back to life. One of these was May, a shy girl who could read feelings in colors, almost like she saw emotions as glowing shapes around people. She called herself an emotion painter and offered to join the team to help paint a better world. Another was Ren, a boy with an uncanny ability to invent toys from scraps, little machines that could lift, climb, or sing. He believed every broken thing had a story waiting to be told, and every story deserved a happy ending. With May and Ren, the crew became bigger and stronger, but they also learned the art of patience, kindness, and understanding that sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. Dash. The puzzle of the Whispering Vault. One day, following a new clue hidden inside the diary, the team found themselves in front of an ancient building buried under the bustling city streets, the Whispering Vault. The vault was said to hold echoes of memories, but the entrance was sealed with a puzzle lock that no one had ever solved. Naruko took a deep breath. This is our chance. With Sakura's tech skills, Sasuke's sharp eye, and Mei's ability to sense emotions, they worked together to unlock the puzzle. The lock whispered soft riddles that only answered when the team shared memories of kindness, courage, and hope. Each correct answer made the vault hum louder, until finally, the door creaked open. Inside, glowing softly on pedestals, were dozens of small treasures, keepsakes from children whose dreams had been captured and forgotten by time. Naruko carefully picked up a tiny crystal shaped like a star. This belongs to someone, she said gently. Someone waiting to remember. Dash. Discoveries and new questions. As they collected each artifact, the team began to understand a bigger truth. Project Echo wasn't just a forgotten experiment. It was a place where children's dreams were gathered to protect them from a world that didn't always understand. But some dreams got trapped. Some hopes got lost. And the only way to free them was through friendship, courage, and creativity. Naruko's heart swelled with determination. We're not just thieves or adventurers anymore, she told the team. We're dreamkeepers. Guardians of the lost and forgotten. Dash. A surprise visitor. One evening, as the team gathered in their hideout to share stories and plan their next move, the door creaked open softly. In stepped a small figure cloaked in a soft silver light. I've been watching you, the visitor said, voice gentle but firm. It was a girl, maybe a little older than Naruko, with eyes like moonlight and a smile that felt like home. My name is Hisa. Dash. Naruko froze, her heart pounding. The friend she thought was lost, was right there. But Hisa's smile was sad. I don't remember everything, she said. But I've come back to help. There are still so many echoes left to find. Naruko stepped forward, hope and wonder swirling inside her. Then we have more adventures ahead. Because the greatest treasures, they all knew, weren't jewels or gold. They were the stories, the dreams, and the friends who light the way. The Crimson Fox and the echoes of tomorrow. The moment Hisa stepped into their hideout, the air seemed to shimmer with a gentle magic. Naruko's friends gathered around, eyes wide with curiosity and excitement. "How did you get back?" Sakura asked softly, clutching her gadget like a lifeline. Hisa smiled, but there was a flicker of mystery in her gaze. "The Mirror Garden helped me. It's not just a place, it's alive. It remembers, it protects, and it sends invitations to those who need to return." Kiba wagged his tail, nuzzling Hisa's hand. "Welcome back, Hisa." Hisa laughed, a sound like sunlight through leaves. "Thanks, Kiba." A new mission unfolds. Hisa explained that although she had returned, she only remembered fragments of her past. But there was something important she needed to share, the echoes were still fading. "The dreams we saved," she said, "they need to be shared with the world again. If they stay hidden too long, they'll disappear forever." Naruko nodded fiercely. "Then we have to find a way to bring them back, not just collect them." Shikamaru yawned but smiled. "That means a plan, and not a lazy one." Hinata quietly added, "Maybe the garden can teach us how." Back to the Mirror Garden. The team returned to the Mirror Garden, this time bringing the artifacts from the Whispering Vault. Together, they placed each treasure near the glowing dream seeds planted before. Something incredible happened. The garden began to glow brighter. The flowers bloomed in radiant waves, and the floating mirrors showed new reflections, scenes of children laughing, painting, building, and dreaming. Mei stepped forward and gently touched one shimmering flower. Colors swirled around her fingers like a living rainbow. "It's like the dreams are waking up." Ren smiled and held up a little wind-up bird he'd made from scrap metal. "Maybe we can help these dreams fly again." The Festival of Echoes. Inspired by the magic in the garden, the team decided to share the dreams with the city. They planned a secret festival, the Festival of Echoes, where people could come and experience the lost dreams through light, music, and stories. Naruko designed playful treasure hunts across the city, Sakura built tiny glowing orbs that played music when touched, Sasuke mapped secret paths, and Kiba gathered animals to be part of the fun. On the night of the festival, the city was alive with magic. Children and adults alike wandered through glowing gardens, found hidden notes filled with kindness, and heard stories whispered on the wind. Hinata's quiet courage shone brightest as she told the crowd about the power of hope and friendship. A surprise in the crowd. As the festival reached its peak, a small boy approached Naruko holding a cracked music box. "My grandmother said this belonged to her when she was little," he said shyly. "But it stopped playing a long time ago." Naruko took the music box and smiled. "Let's see if we can fix it." Together, the team worked under the soft glow of lanterns. Sakura's gadgets hummed, Ren's tiny tools clicked, and the music box began to play a gentle, beautiful melody, one no one had heard in decades. The crowd cheered, and the boy's eyes sparkled with wonder. Naruko whispered to herself, "This is what it's all about." The journey continues. The Festival of Echoes was just the beginning. There were still more dreams to find, more stories to share, and more mysteries waiting in the shadows of the city. Naruko looked around at her friends, the team who had become her family, and felt a warmth that no treasure could match. "We're more than dreamkeepers now," she said. "We're dream sharers." And with that, the Crimson Fox and her friends disappeared into the night, ready for their next adventure. When Hisa stepped into the hideout, her presence felt like a gentle breeze that carried a new kind of hope. Naruko and the others gathered around, their faces shining with a mix of relief and excitement. Hisa explained that the Mirror Garden wasn't just a place, it was a living memory, a protector of dreams that chose when to call someone back. Though she had returned, her memories were still fragments, like pieces of a puzzle scattered by time. But she carried an urgent warning. Many of the dreams and echoes they had saved were fading, slipping further away into silence if they weren't shared with the world soon. The team realized their mission was growing bigger, they weren't just rescuers anymore. They were guardians of hope itself. Together, they decided to return to the Mirror Garden with the artifacts they'd found in the Whispering Vault. Carefully, they placed each treasure near the glowing dream seeds they had planted earlier. As they did, the garden responded in kind, the flowers burst into radiant blooms, mirrors reflected new scenes of joy and creativity, and a soft, magical hum filled the air. The dreams weren't just being kept safe anymore, they were waking up. May reached out to touch one shimmering bloom, and vibrant colors swirled around her fingers like liquid light. Ren held up a little mechanical bird he'd built from scraps, and it began to sing a tune that seemed to carry the laughter of children long forgotten. Inspired, the team knew they had to find a way to share these dreams beyond the garden walls. So, they hatched a plan for a secret celebration, a festival of echoes, where the city's people could experience the lost dreams through lights, music, stories, and playful hunts. Naruko designed clever treasure maps that led through hidden paths, Sakura built glowing orbs that played enchanting melodies when touched, Sasuke navigated and charted secret routes, and Kiba gathered animals from the neighborhood to join the festivities. Hinata, quietly brave, helped tell stories of kindness and courage to those who needed to hear them. The night of the festival arrived, and the city was transformed into a glowing wonderland. Children and adults alike wandered through magical gardens filled with floating lights and whispered tales, finding notes of encouragement and seeing dreams come to life. Amid the crowd, a small boy approached Naruko holding a cracked music box. "My grandmother said this belonged to her when she was little," he said softly, "but it stopped playing a long time ago." Naruko smiled warmly and gathered her friends. Together, they worked under the lantern glow, fixing the music box with Sakura's tools and Ren's delicate hands. When the box began to play a gentle, beautiful melody, the crowd erupted in cheers. The boy's eyes sparkled with joy, and Naruko knew this was the true treasure they had been seeking all along. The festival was only the beginning. More dreams waited in quiet corners, more stories begged to be heard, and more mysteries whispered to the team under the starlit sky. Naruko looked around at her friends, feeling a glow of belonging and purpose. They were no longer just a team of clever kids sneaking through shadows, they were dream sharers, hope bringers, and guardians of the forgotten. With that thought, the Crimson Fox and her friend slipped into the night, ready for the next adventure that would light the sky with magic and wonder. The night air was cool and alive with possibility as Naruko led her friends through the quiet streets, their footsteps light but full of purpose. The Festival of Echoes had awakened something in the city, a sense that even the smallest dreams mattered. Yet Naruko knew the journey was far from over. A new clue had surfaced inside one of the music box's hidden compartments, a tiny folded map, barely visible to the eye. The map led to a place called the Starlit Path, a forgotten trail said to appear only under the light of a full moon, lined with glowing stones and whispers of ancient stories. Naruko's heart raced at the thought. This could be where the next piece of the puzzle waits, she said, her eyes shining. Where more echoes are hidden. The team gathered their things, each feeling the mix of excitement and mystery that came with stepping into the unknown. Even Shimei smiled as she painted soft swirls of colors in the air, lighting their way. Ren tinkered with a small lantern that hummed softly, casting playful shadows. As they followed the map, the city around them seemed to shift. Street lamps flickered and dimmed, replaced by hundreds of tiny glowing stones that lit a winding path through the trees at the edge of the city park. The path pulsed gently, like a heartbeat beneath their feet. Naruko led, her fox mask tucked in her backpack but her spirit sharp and alert. Each step felt like walking inside a dream, one where the boundary between reality and magic blurred. Along the path, they found hidden notes carved into tree trunks, written in a script that seemed to shimmer and change as they read. The messages spoke of friendship, courage, and the power of believing in yourself, echoes of lessons the team had lived through. Suddenly, a soft glow appeared ahead, revealing a circle of stones surrounding a delicate crystal pedestal. On it rested a small glowing orb that seemed to pulse with life. Naruko reached out slowly and touched the orb. In an instant, the world around them filled with memories, laughter of children playing, soft melodies from forgotten songs, colors bursting like fireworks in the night sky. Hisa gasped, tears in her eyes. This is it, the heart of the echoes. The orb projected a vision of a young girl, smiling brightly as she held a book filled with stories and dreams. The girl's eyes met Naruko's through the vision. "Keep believing," she whispered, "and never stop sharing." As the vision faded, the team felt a renewed strength inside them. The Starlit Path wasn't just a place, it was a reminder that their mission was about more than finding lost things. It was about lighting the way for others to find their own dreams and hopes. Naruko looked at her friends, each one shining in the moonlight, carrying their own stories and strengths. Together, she said, we can make sure no dream is ever lost again. And with that, the Crimson Fox and her team disappeared deeper into the night, ready to follow the next shimmer of light, the next echo calling them forward. The city had never seen a celebration quite like this. Word had spread quietly, like a secret song carried on the wind, that the Festival of Echoes was returning, only this time, it would be bigger, brighter, and filled with the laughter of everyone who believed in dreams. Naruko and her friends worked tirelessly to prepare. The whole team poured their hearts into making every corner of the city sparkle with magic and warmth. Sakura crafted glowing lanterns shaped like foxes and stars, while Shikamaru designed intricate games and puzzles that made everyone think and smile. Hinata practiced telling stories with gentle confidence, and Kiba and Akamaru helped decorate the park with colorful ribbons and soft pillows for sitting. Mei's paintings floated in the air like shimmering ribbons of light, changing colors as people moved past. Ren built whimsical machines that gently hummed and twirled, bringing smiles and wonder wherever they went. Sasuke kept watch quietly, making sure everything ran smoothly and everyone was safe. When the evening came, the city transformed into a magical wonderland. Streets twinkled with soft lights, music floated through the air, and the scent of sweet treats filled the night. Families, friends, and neighbors gathered, their faces glowing with excitement and curiosity. Naruko stood near the entrance, her crimson fox mask resting against her cheek. She watched as children ran past, clutching little maps that led them on treasure hunts filled with kindness and laughter. Nearby, Hisa held a small girl's hand, telling her stories of the mirror garden and the dreams that waited to be found. At the heart of the celebration was a giant tree, ancient and strong, wrapped in glowing ribbons and tiny lights. The team had planted a new dream seed here, one that pulsed with the hopes of everyone who came that night. Naruko stepped forward and spoke softly so only her friends could hear, "This tree isn't just ours. It belongs to everyone who dares to dream." The festival unfolded with games of light and shadow, gentle dances that made the stars seem to twirl above, and quiet moments where people shared their own dreams and wishes, writing them on paper leaves that floated up to rest in the branches of the great tree. As the night deepened, a hush fell over the crowd. Naruko climbed a small wooden platform and looked out at the faces glowing in the soft light. Her heart swelled with gratitude. "This festival is more than just a party," she said, her voice steady and warm. "It's a reminder that no matter who we are or where we come from, we all carry dreams inside us. Some get lost, some get hidden, but they never disappear. And when we share them, we light up the world." A gentle breeze stirred the ribbons and paper leaves, carrying with it the laughter and hopes of every person there. Suddenly, the tree's lights brightened, pulsing in time with the crowd's joyful cheers. The dream seed bloomed into a radiant flower, glowing golden and pure, a symbol of new beginnings. Hisa stepped beside Naruko, her eyes shining. "Thank you," she said softly. "For never giving up. For finding me in all of the echoes." Naruko smiled, feeling the warmth of friendship and hope wrapped around her like a soft blanket. As the festival wound down, families gathered their treasures, and the city slowly returned to quiet. But the magic lingered, in hearts, in stories, and in the shimmering glow of the dream tree. That night, as Naruko lay beneath the stars, she thought of all the adventures yet to come. Of the dreams waiting just beyond the horizon. And with a soft whisper to the sky, she promised. "We will always find the lost. We will always share the light. Because that's what friends do. That's what the Crimson Fox does." And with that, a gentle peace settled over her, the kind that only comes when you know you're exactly where you're meant to be. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap on this fanfic topic. I aim to keep it short, sweet, and far from boring. I'd love to hear your thoughts, drop your comments below. Much love to you all. 6 Path Weeb.